What is up? Happy Thursday. Welcome on into Let's Bet It. Lauren Jabara here with Jared Smith. It is presented by Superbook Sports. Jared, how are you? We got week 6 of NFL, Thursday Night Football, the game that we've all been waiting for since week 1.
Yeah, no, I've had this game circled for months. So fun story. Fun story. We were talking before the show, and I have my other bets locked in, and we're just finalizing our card. And I was close. I had my finger on the button to click submit on the Commanders, and Lauren Anjabara, you had talked me off the ledge. Thank you very much for that. I appreciate it. So I
Just
am
people helping
betless
people.
for the NFL. Betless tonight.
Yeah, I am also betless for the NFL. We're going to get into it. We have Thursday Night Football preview. We'll talk about Would You Rather. We have some league-wide or what am I saying right now? We got some, I don't even know what I'm talking about. Jared, I'm having a morning right now. I've had a lot of coffee.
Are you okay right now?
We're talking about.
Do I need to hit the reset button? Do I need to Control Alt Delete Lauren Jabara and the task manager end process?
Yes, honestly, at this point, Control Alt Delete. I'm good, ready to go. We also have Bobby Stanley coming on talking about some Thursday Night Football props, and then we have our ALDS Game 2 previews for a couple of the series going on right now. We can't end without our Pickswise 3-star play of the day and our best bets of the day. So let's get right into it. Let's bet it, presented by Superbook Sports. Let's start off with the Thursday Night Football game. It is week 6. We have the Commanders taking on the Bears. The battle of two big hitters. Just kidding. The battle of two really not great teams right now. But honestly, anything will be better than last week's Thursday Night Football game between the Colts and the Broncos. Literally anything. The Bears, they're looking to stay undefeated at home. They had a lot of fight against the Vikings last week, and the Commanders almost won last week against the Titans, but Carson Wentz did what Carson Wentz does best and threw an interception right at the end of the game. When the head coach was asked what was the issue, he said the quarterback. And Jared, that's definitely something you don't want to hear your head coach saying if you're Carson Wentz. When you look at this game, it's a pick 'em right now, the spread at 1. And it also has the lowest point total out of any game on this week 6 slate. I mean, I don't even know really how to bet this game, and I don't even really know how to talk about this game because these are just two really bad teams.
I will try to enlighten some of you because I'm sure there are people out there interested in betting the NFL tonight. Bobby Stanley will handle the prop side. Let me see if I can shed some light on where the market is trending. Well, most of the action, at least at the major sports books that I grade and look at on a daily basis, it looks like the Bears are kind of the hotter ticket. Not significant, but again, it does appear as though Chicago at home is getting the majority of the handle. That being said, this line has semi-flipped. Again, when you go from 1.5, which is where it opened, the Bears were a favorite, and now we're seeing pick'em to -1 on the Commander side being the favorite. It's technically a line flip, but it's not a very significant move because, again, we've discussed this. It was during one of the Patriots games. When you go from 1.5 on side to 1 on the other side, it's not a win probability shift, really, because you have to win by least, and not a lot of games land 1. Although that being said, this year we've already had 6 games land on 1, which is almost as many as we had all of last year. Last year we had 8 games land on 1. We've already had 6 this year. So, and I think, and the Monday night game, Chiefs-Raiders, one of them. And the reason is, kicking and coaching decisions and 2-point conversions. It's skewing the key number a little bit, not significantly because 3 and 7 are, still is really 3 more so than anything else. But it's noteworthy that once you get off of 1 to 1.5, maybe you're a little more concerned about it landing 1 because, again, 6 games have already landed on 1 this year. But doesn't throw off the win probabilities too much. So we're seeing a little bit of reverse line movement, but not significant enough for it really to matter. And then you look at the handicap of this game. And the big news this morning, thank you very much, Kyle, for bringing this to my attention. And Lauren, you hammered it home before we came on. The Carson Wentz injury is huge. I mean, his throwing arm is injured. Like, can we maybe talk about that a little bit? That kind of matters. Yeah. I don't know how injured it is, but it said dealing with bicep soreness. Again, that's scary for a news nugget like that to be dropped into the market on the morning of
So
game day or the night before.
do we see a Taylor Heineke tonight? Do we see a Hartman? Who do we see?
No, it wouldn't be Hartman. It would be
or what's his
what's his name?
Sorry,
Howell,
or
or
what?
UNC kid.
Yeah, Howell.
Yeah,
Sam
Sam
Howell.
Howell. I think it would
Hartman,
be
Howell,
Heineke. That is an interesting question. I actually don't know which one is 2 on the depth chart.
We might be seeing that Heineke tonight and moving forward.
It is Heineke.
But
I don't know.
Point,
I think Wentz plays. Now, here's the big thing. Jahan Dotson is out. He's a really important piece to this team. Logan Thomas is also out. Very important piece at the tight end position. Sam Cosmi, their right tackle, is out. There are a lot of things that are, not ideal with this Washington offense right now. The Bears offense has been bad. The nugget that Clef, so Clef TA wrote this game up for the site. He's been great this year for us. And he did put that nugget in that I gave out on Playbook. First year head coach is 8-19 against the spread on Thursday Night Football. And that's obviously Matt Eberflus. We saw Nathaniel Hackett struggle in that role last week. So I could see that being a narrative that, floats its way to the top of the priority list. Maybe Eberflus just doesn't have his guys prepared, and Ron Rivera's dudes a little more prepared, top to bottom, 1-53 on the roster. But very hard to bet this game. I don't see a huge edge really on either side, frankly.
No, to be honest with you, I'm just going to watch, and I'm going to hope for a better Thursday Night Football game than last week. This one, though, both offenses rank outside the top 20 in score. I know. Both offenses rank outside the top 20 in scoring points per game, yards per play, and giveaway. So in my opinion, it's whoever's defense kind of steps up is going to determine the difference in this game. Because to be honest with you, there's not really an edge at the quarterback position. Sorry to Justin Fields. I really hope that he does come around, mature, and end up having a great NFL career, but at this point, I haven't seen it yet. So we'll see. The Commanders are 5-1 against the spread in their last 6 meetings, and the over has gone 4-0 in the last 4 meetings. And with the total set this low, could be enticing to bet the over with the lowest point total of a game in the Week 6 card.
It's dropped a little bit too. It's dropped a little bit too. The one final thing I'll make about the defense: listen, Washington held Derrick Henry in check last week, only 3.6 yards per carry. So. Maybe the Washington defense can steal one on the road tonight. Maybe.
Maybe. We'll see. Okay, let's get into Would You Rather. I'm excited to talk about these things. I'm not excited to talk about Thursday Night Football, but I am excited to talk about Would You Rather. The Bills under 13.5 wins or the Steelers over 4.5 wins. I looked at the Steelers schedule.
Oh, wow.
And I think I would rather say Steelers. I don't know what I would choose in this one because the Steelers are playing the Bucs, Dolphins, Eagles, Saints, and Bengals in their next 5 games. That is 5 straight losses for them. Then the Colts and the Falcons, which they could win 2 more. But then the Ravens lost, Panthers win, Raiders probably lost, Ravens probably lost, Browns probably lost. They have like 3 more wins on their schedule. So I don't know if I'd bet over, but it's hard to bet the Bills under 13.5.
The Bill, I mean, think about it this way. The Bills are in Kansas City this week, and they are favored. So what does that tell you? They are not going to be an underdog in any game the rest of the year, unless, of course, Josh Allen gets hurt. They will be favored in every game they play the rest of the year. And they only need to win. They're 4-1, which means they need to go 13-4. No, 14-3, excuse me. 14-3 for this bet to hit. So that means they need to go 14 minus 10, 10-2.
Is this that I feel like I'm like that GIF meme right now with all the numbers floating around? Like, what did you just say?
Listen, Lauren, this is why I have my moments when I look relatively smart. I can do basic addition, right? No, but 10-2 down the stretch, and they will be favored in all 12 games. But here's the key, though. If the Chiefs could win this week, the Chiefs could absolutely win that game this week. And if they do, all of a sudden that number drops to 12.5. If they win this week, the Bills, I don't know if it goes up to 14.5 because, again, they were favored. They're supposed to win. But I could definitely see them losing because it's a short spread. Obviously, and the Chiefs have been, decent in these spots. So I would say just based off of that alone, It doesn't make sense to bet the Bills this week because I think you can get 13.5 next week too. So if I have to pick one, would you rather? I'd rather bet the Steelers.
Yeah, Steelers over 4.5 wins. What about this one? I want to say both. The Bengals to make the playoffs at plus 110 or the Giants to make the playoffs at plus 105. I want to say both for this one, but my friend actually just sent me this tweet. I want to show you. It says, damn, the Bengals O-line is so bad. Joe Burrow is flinching from a cough. This was Ian McMillan.
I saw that. I saw that when I did see that in the press conference. He had a little flinch. He flinched when some dude sneezed. Oh, look out, Joe. Look out, bud.
Stuff done.
Yeah, watch this again. Watch again.
I bet you said you play trash bags or whatever.
Listen, Joe,
but I honestly want to say both. I think the Bengals are. I feel like we haven't seen the best from the Bengals yet. They haven't put together 4 strong quarters.
Agreed.
Joe Burrow is still recovering from his appendectomy. He's not 100%. But I really like what the Giants are doing, what Ryan Dable is doing as the head coach of this team, and how he is working those pieces together, even though he doesn't really have a true superstar besides Saquon Barkley, right?
I agree that I think what the Bengals have done is not the best. We have not seen the best of Cincinnati this year. There is a Super Bowl hangover. There is still offensive line issues. It's kind of funny. The two teams that made the Super Bowl last year could not be further from those versions of themselves right now.
Crazy.
Like it's like
Super Bowl
alternate
Bizarro
Rams and Bengals.
Give them some liquid IV. They need to recover
I don't know
from
what's
that
going
hangover.
on.
Hand them some Advil, whatever they need, honestly, at this point.
Yeah. The Giants are a curious case. We talked about them during Playbook. We broke down the game against the Rams. And the Giants are a curious case. I don't see a ton of explosion there. Daniel Jones is last in the league in explosive passes. Saquon Barkley has been good, but let's be honest. I think it's going to be hard for him to sustain this level for 17 games. That's, the Giants are going to, what our defense is going to start doing? Stacking the box. Although it does look like Kenny Golladay is on the mend, Wan'Dale Robinson on the mend. But if I had to bet one of these this week, I would bet the Bengals because the Bengals, I think it's to win. I don't think the Giants can win this week against the Ravens. I think the Ravens go into MetLife and they kind of bring New York back to earth a little bit. Now, I'm not saying the Giants are a bad team, but again, we have to bet, would you rather this week? Well, we have to flash forward. What's the market going to react to this week? Well, if the Bengals go into New Orleans and win, which that line's basically a pick 'em right now, the market will react very accordingly. I don't think the Giants can beat the Ravens this week. They do have a pretty soft spot in the schedule coming up. They play Seattle, Jacksonville, and Detroit in like a 3-game stretch coming up. So maybe there is a decent spot to jump on the Giants at some point, either game to game or maybe to make the playoffs. But I think this week the Bengals might be the better bet if they can go into New Orleans and get a win. That line will flip to minus.
I would not look past the Lions, Jared. Just saying. I'm just kidding.
Well,
I'm just kidding. Truly.
I'm looking.
What about this one? You don't even see them. They're like down by your ankles right now. Josh Allen to win MVP at 2-1 odds, or Micah Parsons to win Defensive Player of the Year, basically even money, plus 100. Can I say both again? Because both of these guys are playing in the 2 games that I'm most excited to watch.
The game is would you rather.
Josh Allen, obviously, going up against the Chiefs. I know, but I'm allowed to say both.
You're cheating.
I make my own rules.
Cheating,
this is my
Kyle.
show. This is my show. We make our own rules. Josh Allen could secure that, at least get a little bit closer, because if he beats the Chiefs in a big fashion, I feel like this is going to be, his odds are going to drop completely. You're not going to get 2-1 anymore. It's going to be closer to even money at that point. Micah Parsons going up against the Eagles. I feel like he is going to need to help this team almost single-handedly get a win over the Eagles. It's going to be Jalen Hurts and the Eagles offense against Micah Parsons and the Cowboys defense. So 2 big games, the 2 games I'm most looking forward to watching this weekend. Would you lean towards Josh Allen to win the MVP or Micah Parsons to win DPOY?
This is a very good one. I don't know if it was Kyle or Jacob that came up with this one, but this is a good one. I am seeing now at some sports books Micah Parsons odds on favorite, meaning minus money now to win this award. It's a fascinating market because there's really not a lot of competition in the market. Like the next guys on the list, Nick Bosa, who again, the Niners, he's been in and out of the lineup a little bit. The Niners defense has been fantastic, but the Niners defense is more of a unit, whereas the Cowboys really are dominated by those two edge guys, Lawrence and Parsons. Aaron Donald, the Rams are having an awful year. Myles Garrett, injured for a big chunk of the season. And then Rashawn Gary, Max Crosby, Khalil Mack. I mean, these guys are, again, great players, but you can't put them in the same category of the impact that Micah Parsons is having for the Cowboys offense right now. I agree with your market assessment on Josh Allen because Patrick Mahomes is the next guy on that list. So if Josh Allen strolls into Arrowhead this week and the Bills win that game, you not only gain market traction with Josh Allen, you lose it with Patrick Mahomes. So you're two guys facing each other at the top of the market this week, opposite directions. One of them has to win, assuming. So it's going to move. That market will be slingshotted in one direction this week based off of that game. He said, I don't know if they win that game. I think the Cowboys are going to lose in Philly, I think, but I don't know that either. So this is probably the toughest one of the whole bunch to pick. It really is. I think both guys are the favorite. They deserve to be the favorite. I'll go Micah. I'll rep my Penn State guy.
Wow.
He is so freaking good. I
He's
mean,
the best player.
It really is remarkable. I agree. I think he is. I think he is the best player in the league. I agree with that. I agree.
Yeah. I'm excited for that Cowboys-Eagles game. That's going to be pumped up. It's going to be, as you said last night on Pickswise Playbook, spicy, sizzly. Want to know what game is going to lack a little bit of that luster is the Thursday night football game tonight. But needless to say, we're still betting it because we got Bobby Stanley coming on to talk Thursday night football props. Let's bring in Prop Holiday. Tonight, exciting game that everyone's had circled on their calendars, Bobby Stanley. It is the Commanders taking on the Chicago Bears. How you feeling about this?
No hat today, Bobby. Going
hair. No,
I
got to shape up. I got to shape up for the show. I'm trying to look good.
How do I feel?
How do I feel about tonight's awesome matchup? No, I mean, I actually think the expectations are so low that we may get a decent football game. Maybe we get 20 to 17, 24-17. Yeah. Let's just keep the expectations low, and maybe we'll be pleasantly surprised.
Justin Fields trying to defend his home field winning streak this season, I guess. The Bears undefeated at home. But you think he's going to go under his rushing receiving yards? Tell me more.
So rushing and passing yards for Justin Fields, actually. Like
sorry.
Look at that.
That one's on me, Lauren. Yeah, he would definitely go under on his receiving yards. So yes.
We're reading it off the Google sheet, guys. Come on now.
That one, yeah, no, I'll wear the blame on that one, guys. So it's under 217.5 passing and rushing yards. He did hit this in 2 straight games, but none of the first 3 games. So I'm expecting some regression. Maybe it's because I've been looking into a lot of NBA lately, but matchup-wise, this Commanders defense could pose problems for Justin Fields. So I'm looking at the D-line of the Washington Commanders, Jonathan Allen, Daron Payne, and Montez Sweat, arguably one of the best groups in the league. When Chase Young returns, they are the best D-line in the league. But you don't need all 4 of those guys to slow down Justin Fields. So I look at Montez Sweat alone. He's the number 1 edge defender against the run this league against the run in the league this year. On the back end of that defense is a safety no one's really heard of, Cameron Curl. He's the highest graded safety in the league according to PFF. So you drop him in the box, and now he's spying on Fields. If we look at the other lines of this game, David Montgomery set at 16.5 carries. You could still bet Khalil Herbert rushing props. So we're seeing we're expecting a lot of rush attempts from this Bears offense. Commanders have held Jalen Hurts and Trevor Lawrence to their lowest rushing totals this year. Hurts only had 20 yards rushing against this defense.
Interesting.
The biggest stat for me, though, the Commanders are allowing the fewest rushing first downs per game on the road.
Wow.
Now, if Justin Fields – I'm sorry?
I said, wow.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said my name. I apologize. If Justin Fields is forced to become one-dimensional and predictable on 2nd and 3rd and long, I think this is going to be a really tough number for him to hit. So under 217.5 passing and rushing yards for Justin Fields.
That was a very detailed breakdown, Bobby. I like that.
I did a lot of research for the worst Thursday night football game we had.
Well, yeah, and that leads me into a very good question. Actually, no, LJ, you're going to ask that question. I'm going to ask about Brian Robinson. It was a very pedestrian kind of effort in his first game, but you can understand why he wasn't really utilized a ton, but there were still some moments when he flashed a little bit. Now he's playing his second game, not quite the same emotion. His first game at home, he only got 9 carries, 2.4 yards per carry. It's nothing to write home about. But again, just the emotional lift of him being back on the field, I think was positive for the Washington offense. They didn't run it well against Tennessee. What makes you think they can run it well tonight? And what makes you think that B-Rob, who again, coming back from a gunshot wound just 6 weeks ago, an incredible story, can find the end zone tonight at a really nice price for a running back, plus 245.
I take Ron Rivera's comments earlier in the week seriously. I think he said, we're going to expect to see a little bit bigger load from him. We really wanted to feel some things out in the first game. Yes, it was only 9 carries. Yeah. Get some of the jitters out there. See how his legs hold up. Obviously, a gunshot wound. It's not a normal injury that we can grade or we see on a day-to-day basis. So I do think we see a little bit bigger workload. I was trying to see what his rush attempts line were at. I think it's at 12.5 right now. It was one of the later lines to get on book. So if we also look at the Bears' rush defense, they're allowing something like 3.9 yards per carry. That's around top half. But if we look at the red zone defense, they're giving up well over 2 red zone touchdowns per game. That's bottom 10 in the league. So if we can get in the red zone, which may be difficult for this Washington offense, I think Brian Robinson's the guy, and they're going to go nuts, even though it is in Chicago. I think the team will really rally around this guy if he gets in the end zone tonight.
Yeah.
So like you said, plus 245 for a starting running back, insane value.
When you're looking at some of these player props, especially for 2 maybe not so good teams, like how do you adjust, I guess, your handicap or how you look at some of these players when it's 2 bad teams going up against each other?
No, and I saw this on the breakdown. It's a fair question, but I would say it's not too much adjustment from the normal process. There's always going to be an angle. There's always going to be an advantage to find and a mismatch somewhere to exploit. I personally lean pretty heavily on PFF. I use little bits of data that I find to see how I think the game will go. So, for example, Washington Football Club, 9-2 on Thursday Night Football since 2010. I know, Jared, you mentioned on the show last night about first-year head coaches against the spread. They're 8-19.
Yes.
They're also 1-11 straight up on Thursday Night Football. So they don't plan well on a short week. You can still find value even though the teams are not great, I would say. Are these lines overreactions to recent good games, or was it a recent bad game? There are overreactions in lines. I think we saw it last Sunday, Jared. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is averaging almost 70 yards rushing per game. The line opens up at 49.5.
Chair winner, bud.
The line opens up at 49.5. So there's something there in the book they're seeing in the game script that doesn't align with season total. So yes, these 2 teams are not ideal, but from a player prop perspective, there's still value to find out there.
It's a very, very valid question, Lauren, because it's hard to wrap our brain because our brains want to gravitate towards Bills and Chiefs props, but at the end of the day, numbers are numbers. You just base it off the information you have. Football Outsiders I have that as one of my many pinned tabs on my NFL handicapping page, along with a few others that give me the advanced stats. Football Outsiders is tremendous. The line yards created, all this stuff is fantastic. Bobby, great job, bud. Good luck tonight.
No, thank you.
Thanks so much, Bobby Stanley.
Let's enjoy a good game later, guys.
Anything could be better tthan last week's Thursday night football game. I'm just hoping for at least 1 touchdown to be scored, and so are you with your prop. So we love to see it.
We're going to see touchdowns tonight. Don't bet the no touchdown prop tonight. That was last Thursday. There's no way that hits again. It's fun to mention, but that's not hitting tonight. Someone's scoring tonight. Someone is scoring tonight. Totally.
Later, guys.
Let's find the end zone.
Have a good one, Bobby.
Bobby Stanley. Rob Holiday talking about Thursday night football. Commanders taking on the Chicago Bears. All right, some postseason action that we have going on. Major League Baseball right now. 2 ALDS series that I want to break down. The Mariners taking on the Astros. And why not end yesterday with one of the most exciting finishes we've seen in the postseason so far? Down 2, the Astros were, and Yordan Alvarez walked it off for the Houston Astros. A 3-run pop to win 8-7 in Game 1. Now you look at Game 2, the Mariners, Luis Castillo on the mound, Framber Valdez on the mound for the Astros. This is going to be a tough challenge for the Mariners, I think. How do you kind of lean in this game?
Well, first thing you do anytime you're handicapping postseason baseball is you dig into how each opposing pitcher does against that lineup, because you do that every day in baseball anyways, but it matters even more in the playoffs because for the most part, the pitchers starting in the postseason are all guys that have had extended, they're all guys that have pitched a lot this year. You don't get a lot of first time or first month starters in the postseason, especially early in series, which means we have a lot of data for guys like Luis Castillo and Framber Valdez against the opposing lineup. Same thing for Shane Bieber and Nestor Cortez. These guys have pitched a lot this year. We have a lot of data to digest. The first thing you look at when you're dealing with a guy like Framber Valdez is the fact that, well, he's a lefty. And the lefties, you can find even more definable splits for lineups against lefties. Well, Houston is, Seattle is one of those teams that doesn't really hit lefties that well. They're kind of middle of the pack, trending bottom half of the league against lefties this season. Framber Valdez specifically has pitched very well against Seattle. 205 batting average against in 100 plate appearances with about a 25% K rate. So I would say positive in that regard. I'll be honest, emotionally, that's where I struggle with Seattle. They had Houston dead and buried. Game 1, Verlander on the mound. They scored early. They had the lead throughout the whole game. That game was toasted, and then it wasn't. How does Seattle respond to that? I think it's an advantage that they have a day off to recover emotionally. Physically, physically, these guys used to playing every day. They didn't need a day off. But emotionally, I think probably helped them to take the day off.
Yeah, absolutely. As an underdog coming into, Game 1, they basically have it. And then Alvarez just ripped their hearts out of their chests at the end of that game. That's just crazy. But you look at a guy like Framber Valdez, he's had a streak this season of 25 consecutive quality starts in the regular season. 2.41 ERA. Wow. He limited his opponents to 211 batting average, struck out just under 10 batters per 9 innings pitched over the second half of the season. He is going to have these guys' numbers. It's a tough spot for me for the Mariners. I kind of lean the Astros here. But a team that I know that you're leaning is the Yankees, which I don't even know if they're going to be playing this game tonight, because if you look at the top of the radar, Jared, there is assumptions of a lot of rain, biblical floods, if you will, in the New York area. But they're taking on the Guardians. It's Game 2 of the ALDS. Could be postponed. Yankees up 1-0. They won 4-1 yesterday. Shane Bieber is going to be on the mound for the Guardians. He's had a pretty good second half of the season, 9-2, 2.04 ERA. Nestor Cortez on the Yankees side was 1-0 with a 2.19 ERA this season in 2 starts against the Guardians. I know you like the Yankees here, and you can save it for your best bet of the day, but give me a little outlook on how you expect this game to finish out.
I do want to mention one thing, because we didn't give Luis Castillo enough of a mention in that Seattle-Houston handicap. You want to talk about emotional, being able to, turn the tide of a series. If he pitches like he did against the Blue Jays, and he is a true ace and a true stopper, I could absolutely see Seattle winning that game. But he has to be perfect.
Yeah.
Like, he has to be
perfect.
He has to be, bottom of the first inning, get off to a good start, and then carry that through. But he can. He has the stuff to do it. So I think Luis Castillo, really, the Mariners game really comes down to how dominant he is. Yankees
one thing that worries
matchup,
me in that one, though, thing that worries me there is they used a lot of their best relievers in Game 1. So he really needs to pitch deep into this game, right? Because some of those relievers are not going to be pitching the Game 2. I feel like they threw it all out there in Game 1.
Day off helps.
That's true.
Day off helps.
Okay, get into the Yankees, baby. America's baseball team. America's baseball team.
I don't know if they are. They're like the evil empire, right?
I know, seriously.
At least that's what I've been told my whole life, that I'm evil for rooting for the Yankees. So there is a level of, why does this game matter? Because odds are it's going to get rained out. It's really disappointing that the weather worked out the way that it did. The Yankees, I wish they played last night.
Mother Nature.
Yeah, Mother Nature's a biatch, huh? Nestor Cortez, you can make a case that Nestor Cortez, statistically at least, had a better year than Garrett Cole and deserved to start game 1.
Yeah.
I know Garrett Cole is getting paid a gajillion dollars, and that's why he started game 1. And he pitched well, to be fair. But I think Nestor Cortez had a better year, numbers-wise at least. He's the first pitcher in New York Yankees history to finish a season with an ERA below 2.5 and a WHIP below 1. First pitcher, let me do that in the back for all the people that didn't listen to that. In the history of the Yankees franchise, I'm no expert on them. I am. They've had some pretty decent ones.
Yeah.
There's never been a pitcher that finished with an ERA below 2.5 and a WHIP below 1. A starting pitcher. Let me reframe that. He's also had some time off, and he battled some dead arm throughout the course of the season, and that's why he had a bit of a lull mid-season. And in the last few weeks, he's come on really strong. He's given up 2 earned runs or less over his final 6 starts, scoreless over his final 2. 13-plus innings, no runs in his last 2 starts of the year. And he hasn't pitched since October 1st. 12 days off. Give that arm a bit of a break. Maybe he's a little rusty, maybe in the first inning, quote-unquote, your feet, wink, wink. But I think he will figure it out, and I think he has the demeanor to really pitch well here. Here's the key. What did we just say about Framber Valdez? He's a lefty, Nestor Cortez.
Yeah.
The Guardians have the 3rd fewest runs scored against lefties this year, 4th lowest WRC+. They're bottom 10 in almost every major category offensively against left-handed pitching. It's a bad matchup for the Guards. They don't hit lefties well. Jose Ramirez, their best hitter, is a lefty. 0 for 7 with 4 strikeouts in his career against Nestor Cortez. This just screams Yankees to me. We'll get to the Bieber part of the handicap a little later in the show. I'm not a believer tonight. Let's just leave it at that. I really hope this game gets played because I think it's
for believers.
It's a good spot for the
Yankees. I'm interested to see if they even end up playing. Doppler radar ain't looking too pretty, but you know what?
It ain't looking good.
Meteorologists again are not paid on accuracy, Jared. So you never know what's going to happen. Before we get into our best bets of the day, let's talk about Let's Bet It, presented by Superbook Sports. Make sure to go to superbook.com or download the app today. And this season, guys, we are all rooting for safeties. That's because Superbook will give you a $50 bonus on each safety scored this season. Just place a $100 pregame bet on any spread, any total, and if there's a safety scored in any game on Sunday, you get a $50 bonus. Make sure to visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. All right, Pickswise.com, 3-star play of the day. Who do we got for today?
Yeah, some housekeeping. First, the Pickswise 3-star plays, Golden Knights and the Blackhawks. Puck line, Tyler Mortimer's got some puck action. And also, there's a horse racing pick on the site for today, too, if you're interested in that. Keeneland, race 8, out in Aussieland. Keeneland. I don't know if you've ever been out to Australia before, but yeah, beautiful.
I love Keeneland in Lexington. I've never been to Keeneland in Australia.
Am I wrong about where Keeneland is?
It's in Lexington,
is
Kentucky.
Keeneland not in Australia? I could be wrong about that.
No,
I thought Keeneland was in Australia.
Lexington, Kentucky, and not.
Wow, I'm an idiot. That was a brain fart moment.
I was like,
Keeneland,
I didn't know there was one in
Keeneland
Australia.
Sound like it should be in Australia?
Lexington, Kentucky. Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, no, I'm completely wrong about that. No, wait a minute. Keeneland Turf Mile in Australia.
Oh my god.
No, never mind. It says here. No, you're right. The Breeders' Cup at Keeneland.
Keeneland in Lexington has April races and they have October races, and I've been to both, and it's really, really fun. It's like some of the best access you'll ever get for a horse race. It's the best. It's the absolute best. Let's
just rewind and forget that I said that it was in Australia. Let's expunge that from the records.
I had to reset at the beginning of the show. You have to reset now.
True.
We both get a mulligan today. And we move on. Let's talk about our best bets of the day. I'm taking the Avs money line against the Flames. Plus money on the reigning Stanley Cup champions. And I know this is a really tough spot for them. They opened the season last night against the Blackhawks. Why not start the season on a home and away, back-to-back? Going up to Calgary. Also, another team that's favored this year to be one of the top in the Stanley Cup favored odds. They have Nazem Kadri, who was the second-line center for the Avs last season. But the Avs are incredibly deep. I know they're missing a couple players like Nazem Kadri went to Calgary, Andre Burakovsky went to Seattle, but the core is intact. for the most part. With Calgary, they lost Johnny Hockey. They lost Matthew Tkachuk. They gained Jonathan Huberdeau. They gained Nazem Kadri. They gained Mackenzie Weegar. I know these are great names, great players. It might take a little bit of time for this Calgary team to gel, and this is their first game of the season. Goaltending worries me a little bit, but the Avs, in my opinion, and maybe this is a little biased, maybe not have the best defensive core in the entire National Hockey League. I know it's a tough spot for the Avs, but last season they were 8-2-1 in the second half of back-to-backs. So that doesn't really worry me. The fact that they have the chemistry already, they're playing with the same core, and getting their money line at plus money, it's way too enticing and exciting and positive for me to pass up. And also, something to keep note, Markstrom missed practice yesterday for the Calgary Flames because of an illness. I know that he's probably going to start today, but just in case he doesn't, grab the Avs now plus money, because if it's announced that he's not starting, I think the line's going to flip and the Avs are going to be the favorite team in this game. So Calgary's at home. Doesn't affect me. Give me the Avs. Back-to-back wins to start off the season and back-to-back home and away games. Plus money, plus 105. You're taking the Yankees if they play.
Yeah, so I'll do this. I'll give the Yankees handicap in a second, but I will say I have two bets tonight. The Yankees money line, and I'm also on UCF laying 23.5.
Ooh.
If they're home against Temple, I do like this UCF team. We bet their win total over. Temple's not great. They're a bottom 5 team in offensive line play, and UCF's offensive line's played really well this year. John Reese Plumlee's been a little inconsistent for them at quarterback, but explosive. And I don't trust E.J. Warner, Kurt Warner's son, who's a true freshman quarterback for the Owls, coming off a 3-interception game at Memphis. And UCF's defense has some dudes. They've got some dudes on that side of the ball. They're a little bit volatile. You got the Gus Malzahn, who, coaching-wise has been a little bit inconsistent. But talent-wise, UCF just blows the talent out of the water in this game. So if the Yankees don't play and that game gets postponed, we will slide UCF minus 23.5 into my best bet of the day. We're going for our 5th straight best bet tonight. We're 8-1 in the last 9 too. We're hot right now. We hot, LJ.
You can't jinx yourself like that.
You know what? I don't believe in that bullshit. The picks are what the picks are. All right, Yankees money line tonight. We gave you a little Nestor Cortez handicap a minute ago. The lefty is suited for this moment. The Guardians struggle against lefties. Let's talk a little bit about the other side of the ball. Shane Bieber on the mound for Cleveland tonight. Bieber, not great numbers against the Yankees, about a 300 average against, 1 for 8 against Judge. He's taken him deep. Hicks, Marvin Gonzalez, Luke Donaldson, Gleyber Torres, they've all taken Bieber deep. They've seen Bieber a ton. They faced him a bunch over the years. They faced him in the 2020 postseason. They knocked Cleveland out of the 2020 postseason. They dominated that series, and they really blasted Bieber around a little bit. To me, though, when you really dive into Shane Bieber's numbers, this is a guy that won the Cy Young. He was one of the most dominant pitchers in baseball for a stretch, had shoulder surgery. Now he's in his first full year back from that injury. When I look at his numbers this year, I see a massive drop in the strikeout numbers. K through 9 drops from 12.5 last year to just under 9 this season. It's his lowest strikeout rate, too, since 2018. What does that mean? Well, throughout the course of your career, usually pitchers go from power pitchers to more contact guys. That's the transition we are now seeing with Shane Bieber. Pitching to more contact this season. 4-seam fastball usage is down. Cutter and slider usage is up. Curveball usage is way down. Why is that important? That was his top put-away pitch. That was his big strikeout pitch last year and in prior years. He used that pitch 31% of the time last season, down to 17% this year. He's pitching to more contact. And so to me, that plays right into the Yankees' hands. What do they like to do? Make contact. They like to hit the ball out of the park. The Yankees struggle with guys that are power pitchers that strike out a lot of guys. That's not Shane Bieber anymore. And this is just such a great spot for the Yankees. They're 25-14 at home in the postseason as a favorite since 2005. That's a 64% win rate. That equates to about minus 175 odds. We are paying significantly less than that, minus 134. This is a very cheap spot to buy the Yankees as a home postseason favorite, where they typically do very well in the Bronx. Love this spot. Again, does the game get played? No idea. That's Mother Nature's decision. But if they do play it tonight, and if they play it tomorrow, and this line is in the minus 130 range, heavy buy on the Yankees. Great spot for them. Love the pitching matchup, Cortez, and I think Bieber's a fade to me.
I absolutely love it. Yankees, if Mother Nature holds up, and Avs money line. We're taking 2 money line bets for our play of the day. That is it for us today, guys. Find us on the Pickswise YouTube channel. Go to pickswise.com. Follow us on Twitter. That's Gerard Smith. I'm Laurent Jabara. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Let's get it. Let's bet it. Presented by Superbook Sports.